is Nancy Moreno, and we are going to talking about Ireland. And I'm going to start with Eurocommuters and immobility. US citizens are increasingly living in the UA country, working in another, shuttling back and forth between the two. According for expanding floating air travel and expanding reach of high-speed rail, social demographics predicts that by 2060, the numbers of so-called Eurocommuters will rise to millions. Based on an analysis of the 2010 European Labour Force Survey, mobility finds that 7 in every 1,000 people employed across the EU commute across European state borders for work. And while these figures may be relatively small, importantly, the report notes that the degree of cross-border commuting varies markedly between different countries and regions. It is much more prevalent in some areas than others. For for example, in Lorraine, French, 9% of those employed in the region is 90 in 1,000. Work in either Luxembourg or Germany in nearby Alsace, mm, 8% of the workforce, 80 in 1,000. Community to Switzerland. Mm,
Hi, Miss. Hi, guys. My name is Alejandro Villalpando. Eurocommuters and Ireland. Several popular euphemisms now exist to describe the observed spike recently in people who live in the Republic but depart routinely to other European countries for work. A documentary, The Commute, coined the phrase emigrants, so called because they are halfway between staying and emigrating. The journalist David McWilliams wrote of an unprecedented rise in mortgage refugees, those who have lost jobs in Ireland and now commute overseas for work to service mortgage debts incurred during Ireland's Celtic Tiger years. Reviewed data on the prevalence of Irish-based Eurocommuting are thin, but a major recent report shows that incidents of Eurocommuting may be on the rise. The report found that at the household level, roughly 20% of households in rural, urban, and peri-urban areas report the immigration of at least one family member, arguably half way between staying and moving semigrants. It identifies intra-European commuters as a neglected but important subgroup for studying present-day intra-European Union mobilities. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ana Martinez. I am going to talk about the topic of intra-European migration, conceptualizing the new map of European migration. Um, Intra-European migration, that is EU citizens who migrate from one country to another in the now 28 member bloc, temporarily or permanently, has received considerably extraordinary energies in recent years. A sizable body of research has focused on labor migration of Central and Eastern European migrants to other EU countries following the 2004 and 2007 EU engagement to less permanent and more hybrid from forms of border crossing that have been on the rise in recent decades in Europe. The experience of young to middle-aged, mostly middle-class Western European professional migrants who built careers in cities like London, Milan, Brussels, Paris, Dublin, Amsterdam, Munich, and elsewhere are also from and central much scholarly attention. Adrian Favel has considered the phrase Euro starts in Euro cities to describe this population. In effect, most this research differs from other scholarly approaches that following says polarized migrants communities in the world cities as either and highlight skilled talent global elite or as poor unified global underclass. In one light, much in the EU mobility of ordinary white scholar, professional may be means of promoting future career development. A case of spatial mobility interesting with social mobility. By taking an overseas workplace career meeting, Europeans might be able to distinguish themselves from their more sedentary counterparts who do not possess this mobility capital. In another light, such a spatial mobility, a social mobility can be seen as a form of livelihood strengthening. Livelihood migration has traditionally been associated with the movement of underprivileged migrants from the developed world economies, or as internal migration within developing world economies. Another approach to livelihood migration appraises the mobility strategy of migrants moving within the high income developing work. Here, much like unselected migrants, affluent skilled migrants move because opportunities for increased and earning arise in the destination country and sharing potential contacts in the original country. A second important point here, livelihoods should not be seen solely in terms of earning, but also as encompassing various social norms and values. Has long stayed livelihoods concept include individuals and groups striving to make a living, respond to new opportunities, and choosing between different value positions. In the world, intra-European migration may be a response to financial change in household incomes, but it can also arise over-present around certain social norms, such as pursuit to maintain a particular way of life. Migrants were accustomed to intertrade original country. This outline in later section is a principal motivation for many Euro commuters, also subject to considerable recent research focus are EU university students who parked in Erasmus exchange to other European universities. Others examine the moves of middle class European profession taking up or routine with color occupation in another EU state. Other state considers a lives EU returns who moved from the north of sunrise country rim of countries. Mm, of Bohemia seeks to call it alternative ways of life in place, something cities, something rural areas, but look for a trace, apparent artists, aesthetic culture, creativity, and spiritual cage have also been examined, investigated. Here, lifestyle migration is one let's throw ways to view many of their diverse moments in it involves rolling migration in search of future wild way of life. Areas here are migration considered around work, life balance, quality of life, freedom from past constraints.
Hi, my name is Aidli. I'm going to talk about the study data, designs, and methods. Well, this interview was concluded with 32 European people living in Ireland who were recruited through personal contacts and by Irish national media such as newspaper, radio, etc. Also through the human resource of Irish and international companies operating in Europe in this interview. All respondents were around 30s and 45 years old, and only three out of these 32 respondents were a woman. In the interview, he showed that the most popular destination for travelers were English capital or Great Britain, London, Manchester, etc. This research design also showed the majority of respondents belong of the upper middle class, sorry, since their socioeconomic level allows of them to have two households in two countries and they have the facility to move between of countries, one country and another. Since, since most of them had a position as accounts, etc. And on the issue of mobility and immobility, the motivation, the strategies, and futures of future of of migration of Europe travelers have many characteristics in common, such as the development of a network professional context and the benefit it will be have on their private life and careers thanks to traveling Euros. In conclusion, this interview showed the moment of Europe traveler facilities movement to the labor markets of European Union and promotes great mobility of goods, workers, and service between countries. And that's it. Thanks.
Type 1 to select. One of the main characters popular is to. Cártala. Type 1 to select. One of main characteristics peculiar to these responses is their principal motivation for undertaking this particular migration, namely, actually, the research finding of Benson and O'Reilly in 2009 and Stone and Stubbs 2007 community can be understood here as a form of lifetime migration. When asked why the Eurocommute responded rapidly state who third migration is bound up with the search. Broadly speaking, for a better way of life. Okay, take Mitchell. Take Mitchell account where Mitchell worked in London in the financial service industry. He has been a commuter on and off for the past. The economic recession, he insists, is not a factor behind his community. He could find work in the working in Dublin if so of that. Somewhat Democrats to choose with a more sedentary way of life explain who he feels Dublin is a small pond that to main partial attitude, timely innovation and talent. By communicating, he has been able to sidestep what he sends this small, mighty, Irish business environment, and he has thrived professionally and personally a result of this mobility. Michael concludes this a lifestyle choice rather than a forced situation. In Cian's situation employed and Magala, Spain, he has come from there back to Dublin since 2010 after he sold stake in another company. Like Michael Sin says that his Europe community is not economically driven, not corset. Mostly his mobility has a more lifestyle orientation. He claims the coal just as a Dublin. However, Sin says that he found his idea of this different way of life Euro community existing. In fact, the difference of highly mobile life compared to other people's more sedentary lives is what he emphasizes. Okay, Euro communitary sign it underscores the point that commuting can be directly connected to lifestyle concert. She was a relative concert with her job in academy in Ireland, but recent took up a lower recommend post in a Brighton new community weekly between Dublin and her beaten workplace, mainly because the fact that it's on an international scene, mobility is attractive, sexy, and that the new employer want me her about another else. She continues, it does make you feel like you are dating off on a Monday, you are back on Friday. It does giving me a great confidence. I feel really on top of my game. And many Taiwan responses everyday practice around Thai community routines also set them apart from other communities. For instance, many describe having an active social lifestyle in the community, the destination, outlining high levels of integration with both the local population and other international colleges has for the out community environment their right again these Euro communities present a picture of relative harmony of achieved work-life balance. In this case, Martin says that this commuting routine between Brussels and Dublin actually benefit him and his wife, Margaret. Marriott has her own Corvette. She is bossy, and my company just means they were not living out of each other's pocket, which is dog for use. Sydney could about agrees and explain how ever commenting actually improved the quality of her both family and work life. I have the best of worlds, the combination notion that mobility dreams personal relationship is concept here rather is so much sedentary interaction that will threaten a relationship harmony and on curling of many type 1 narrative um, response is the mobility tech law take Joe community between Galloway and various parts of Europe. As a senior engineer, he builds people like himself has breaking new around in the European career and most Europeans they are very keen of style. The French love French, Italian love Italian, and what have you. Joe claims of American are far more flawless, far more mobile than reconciled the domains or resident and work. Final, I choose a different type one response. His hosts they view third future as European communities because European communities was a part of lifetime choice. It was not something they feel forced into many feel they could continue Europe community. For some years, yet recently, if the right opportunity are these interroy, they will consider return. However, for now, they were relative connect with their lives, were not actively looking for alternative. Um, Thank you.
Good afternoon, I'm Ingrid, and I will be talking to you guys about the second type, which is the strivers. Usually, the main reason for the strivers are for social mobility and career-wise. This group of people are willing to move overseas for work and to provide a better way of living for themselves. They're willing to make sacrifices for the sake of their career. Here are a list of the main sacrifices they're willing to make. The first one is a broken personal relationships, since they won't keep them for very long, since they're moving for their career. And the second one is for having anxiety as for missing important dates and events. The third one is the lack of friends and social life. And the fourth one is work-wise. They usually put in much longer hours of work since they don't have the social life and they're missing social events and they have personal relationships, so they don't have much to focus on than their work. So, and that will be it for my part.
Okay, good afternoon. My name is Salma Dayana, and I will talk to you about type 3, the survivors. The third and numerically most prominent subgroup among my sample term survivors. Survivors are characterized as those most clearly associating Euro community with the advent of the return of investment economy downturn. Many sectors of the Irish economy have suffered several job losses since the recessions began in late 2007. Even for those who have not lost jobs, swinging pay cuts, tax hikes, and increased jobs precarity conditions demanded by the ACB, AC, etc. Next is okay. The family housings and mortgage payment factory prominently in euro communities accounts at working in euros. They generate sufficient income to cover the daily living expenses in Ireland. For example, mortgage, health, education, etc. Jingle mortgage is a euphemism for a loan in which a borrower uh, strategically defaults. Loan in which a borrower strategically defaults, often by mailing the case to the lender in ROAE. A strategic default is not legally possible. Borrowers remain liable for the balance of the original loan. Even after the result of the priority, um, many type 3 respondents the feel trapped, compl- compelled, compelled to remain immobile. Trapped forced to remain immobile, their earning potential has been severely reduced in ROE, yet they are forced to continue to pay expensive mortgages there. Um, family migrations could be a mobility option for many if it weren't for the mortgages. Next, um, okay. because their euro switching is mainly about keeping the lives they had in the recent past in the ROE for many country respondents. This leads to very truncated social lives in their community destinations. For most, for most, their daily practice are structured around their work routine. Um, Regarding future mobility explorations, type 3 responses are almost unanimous in their desire the return to the ROAE as soon as possible if the opportunity arose. They will stop traveling instantly, but here type 3 responses are very conscious of their positions in the life course. And that's it. Very, I, sorry. Thank you for your attention.